welcome back to my channel. I'm Rosa and this is Honestly Rosa. Today I'm going to talk to you about the 10 things they don't tell you about being a mature student at uni. So, number one, I find there's quite a few things that you don't realise going into university as an older student. I looked for ages and ages online before starting, trying to find tips and tricks for anything that I would need to know. And a lot of the things I found were aimed at younger students who had never lived away from home or never had much responsibility, which obviously there's a lot of those people out there and it's very useful for them, but for me I didn't find it so useful as tips and tricks on how to do your laundry and how to cook weren't really anything I needed to know, as I already had that in my routine. So what I really wanted to know was the sort of nitty-gritty, like the things you wouldn't expect. And so I thought I'd make this video for you guys to have a bit of a better understanding of what it's like going to university as an older student. Number one, I have seen that I say most, I don't want to assume that all, but most younger students tend to find their close friends while going out, freshers, going out drinking, going out clubbing, and that's how they form their bonds, and obviously with the people that they live with. But I found being a person who doesn't go out anymore, who doesn't enjoy going drinking, I have found the opportunities to socialise a bit limited. There are sober socials, like I joined a society and there are sober socials with those, but I feel like there is a lot of expectation for that to be the main way of socialising, and I feel like I maybe have made less closer friends than some. And not that having loads of friends is the be all and end all, it's more about the ones that you really want to stick by, but I have found that it has been a little harder to get closer friends. And that leads me on to point number two, which is loneliness at university. Nobody talks about it, and I'm sure it happens for those younger students as well. And I have found in the past couple of weeks I found myself really feeling lonely. Now I live in a 2-bedroom unit, I share with one other person, so I understand that obviously there's a lot less opportunities to make friends with the people that I live with, as there's only one, and we've made really good friends, we get along really well. The only thing is obviously there's only one other person, so if that person is busy and you still feel like being social, there's not a lot of people out there. I've made a couple of friends on my courses, but of course everyone's busy, everyone lives out in other places, so it can get really lonely, and especially coming from full-time employment into now full-time education, it's a hard one. And that leads me on to point number three, which is the lack of structure. Even though there is structure obviously and there's contact hours, the lack of structure when it comes to, say, work time was a bit of a shock for me. I'm so used to getting up for a certain time, getting into work, clocking in, working hard for so many hours and then leaving and going home. Whereas here, you go to your seminar, you talk, you learn, and then you go back and then you have to do all your work by yourself. And after coming from a work environment, I found that quite hard to have all this free time. And again, that kind of made me feel a little lonely at times. When it comes to friends as well, I found that being a bit older, I end up making friends in the societies I've joined with those who are more towards third year or the PhD students. And while you can't choose who you get along with or don't get along with, it's kind of hard thinking that these people that you've come close to making really good friends with are going to be gone in a year's time, and you have to start that all over again, so that can be a bit harder. But I'm sure it happens to other students as well. I'm sure you end up making friends with someone in society and it turns out they're going to leave. Another thing, so I know I said that doing your laundry was something you didn't need to know if you're a bit older, but the price of the laundrettes, I know some unis offer it for free, but here at UEA, the company that does the laundrettes, it's a bit pricey, and it does take up a lot of money. And one thing I would suggest is as opposed to as you would at home, washing it as soon as you got a load. Wait, because the laundrette washing machines are huge. Do a big load, and it'll make it worth more, and it'll be more worthwhile. Another point, dealing with strikes. We've had a strike for the past week and a half, and I fully back the tutors and lecturers. It's not right that a institution like this should be just trying to commercialise, and I get that it's a commercial business now, but I fully stand with the tutor. It has come at a bit of a detrimental point. I have 3 summatives due in the next week, and right now I could be doing with a lot of support, and there isn't any support, which is a bit sad. So when it comes to strikes, don't do what I did. I really struggled. I lost focus, and because I had no structure to my week, I ended up not doing much work at all. I have now finally today got my act together. I would recommend setting yourself your own timetables, as I put in a video a few weeks ago up here. Plan out your week, make plans to meet up with some of your course mates and do your work together. It'll motivate you more, it'll feel like you're more in class. That goes for younger students and mature students. I feel like when we're mature, we feel like we can just get on with it, and in some ways we do have that self-discipline if you've come from a work environment, but at the same time, for anyone trying to work out how to work from home, or from your bedroom, it can be hard because there are so many distractions. I mean, if you're used to going to a workplace to work and suddenly you don't have to, it can be disorientating. So focus, keep doing your exercise if you're an active person. Try and keep your routine. That's where I struggled, and I did find myself struggling to sleep and struggling to focus. Coming back to the loneliness point, you don't really realise at the beginning, especially if you move away from home. You move into your accommodation, everything's new, everything's exciting, you get your timetable, you're still trying to get to the grips with it, so you're distracted and you're starting to make friends, so you throw yourself into that. You throw yourself into new societies, there's loads going on and loads of energy behind it, and then maybe something doesn't happen for it to cause it. Maybe it just gets to the end of the term and you realise, oh my god, I have put so much energy into this. Or like I had the strikes, which obviously cut my routine, and suddenly I realised how lonely I was, how I haven't been home since I've been here. Obviously some people do go home to visit, and which is cool. Some people don't have the opportunity to. I know I could had I had the time, but I just prioritise being here more. You then come to the realisation that you've been in another place for so long and you haven't seen your home friends, and it can become quite a bit much. Especially, I'm quite a tactile person. Like when I'm around my friends, we hug each other all the time, and sometimes you just really need a hug when you're feeling a little low, and when you're not quite close enough to your housemates or to your friends, your newly made friends at uni, it can be a bit disheartening to feel so alone and isolated, that there's no one there to sort of give you a hug, and it seems so simple and nobody seems to talk about it, but it is a thing. And another point, coming from full-time employment to full-time education, unless you've got a very strong mind, it's hard to stop impulse buying. Now, I know I speak a lot about sustainability, and compared to a lot of other people my age, I barely shop at all. For most of this year, I've barely shopped really at all. In the last couple of weeks, I've gone on a bit of a spree of buying things from Depop and from sustainable brands. Some things I really needed and have been planning to buy. I recently got myself a new yoga mat, as mine has been falling apart for years now. Those kind of things, bought some presents as well. But it's hard to get your mind around not having a regular income. For me, I still have that mindset of, oh, there'll be more money coming, there's more money in a month or in a week. And even though I know that that's not right, I know at the moment I am living on my loan, it's still in the back of my mind that money always comes, you can always make more money. And it's hard to actually stop and be like, no, this is it until January. So I have spent a bit too much. So I do recommend doing something which I haven't done this term, but I will be doing next semester, which is keep all of your student loan in a separate bank account, put a certain amount, put the amount for rent. I pay my rent at the beginning of the term, so it's all done, it's all sorted. So I'm going to put all of my money in one bank account, put the money for my rent in a separate bank account so it goes out straight away and there's nothing left in that. And then I'm going to schedule direct debits from my savings of that loan into my current account so that it's more like a income, and hopefully it'll make me think a bit more about how much I'm spending. It seems simple, but when you're in that situation, it's hard to not get your head around it. It's easy to mess up, basically, and because it's all so new, and you think, well, I've got all this money that, even if it's not a lot, I've got this money that I didn't technically earn. What do I do? Do I not use it, or do I use it? And then you end up thinking, well, I've got it there, I might as well. And obviously the plan is to be part-time working at some point. I originally moved with a transfer with my old job, but I realised that the reason why I've come to university is to not be in that job, and I will just be so stressed trying to do that job that already stressed me out and do university. So I'm looking for something more applicable to my course. I've applied to some internships, which I will hear about hopefully soon, and if not, I will continue looking. I try not to stress myself out about that too much, because either it happens or it doesn't. And the good side to thinking there's always money to come, there is always there's always jobs to do. There's always ways to get money. There's always jobs to do. If you have some spare clothes that you don't need and they're in good nick, you can sell them on Depop. There's always a way forward, and it's not the end of the road. As long as you've paid your rent, that's the important thing. That's really the important thing. I always make sure I pay my rent first and foremost. That way I've got a roof over my head. Another point being, if you're living on campus, as convenient as it is, from my experience, the shop on campus is convenient. Yes, it is about a 2-minute walk from my flat, but it is also very expensive, and you're paying for the convenience, which is a real shame, but I understand how they managed to get around with that. So I have unfortunately been in lack of fruit for a lot of my time here, just because a punnet of berries is close to £3 or £4, when in a regular shop it wouldn't be that much. I do recommend being strategic in your shopping and buying things maybe when you're out in town. The difficulty being here is, in a 2-bedroom flat, you don't have a very big fridge. It's just one of those half-size fridges, which isn't a lot of room for 2 people, and the freezer size is about this big. And I don't use mine for pizzas, luckily, because the pizza wouldn't even fit in it, but I do like to keep frozen berries, frozen bananas for my nice creams, and some frozen veg, so that I've always got some veg somewhere. So it's been a bit of a squeeze. So one thing you don't think about when going to university is actually socialising with people in your course. I don't know about you, but when I thought about going to class, I thought you'd get the chance to sort of talk to the people you're learning with and get to know them and make friends with them. And I understand now why people make closer friendships with the people they live with, because there isn't a lot of time to get to know the people you're on your course with, unless you make the time to do things outside of your course. when it comes to lectures, there's no time to sort of sit around and chat afterwards because the room's always booked for the next lecture, so you have to all head off and everyone goes off to their own places. The same goes for seminars. Obviously there's more room for talking there, clearly. There isn't as much opportunity to really make close friends in class, which I guess you kind of take for granted when you're in school or at work. So do reach out, ask someone to go for coffee. I've done it a couple of times with a couple of friends, because likelihood is they're just as much in need of some friendship as you are, and it can be a bit scary. Even for me, being a bit older, it can be a bit scary being like to someone I barely know saying, "Oh, do you want to go for a coffee and we can actually see if we want to be friends?" Sometimes it works out, sometimes you get a good friendship, and sometimes the conversation doesn't come, and well, at least they're not your kind of person. But please reach out, because a lot of people may be less inclined to reach out themselves and they might be getting a bit lonely. And it's really strange that no one talks about it, because I'm sure everyone goes through it, even the people who are local. My flatmate is local. She's quite lucky. She can still go out and see her friends from home, and she does every now and then. And I don't really have that opportunity. My friends are a good 2.5-3 hour journey away. And I know that's not a huge amount compared to some people. There are some people here from all over the world. So I guess it is a bit easier for those of you who are not away from home. Yeah, just reach out. Be kind to people. Invite people. If you do join societies, which I do recommend. I've joined a couple societies. One of them I'm more involved in than another. I'm a committee member on the pole fitness, and especially the sports societies. They seem to be, well, the pole community anyway. They are so welcoming, and it seems to be a safe space and a time to socialise as well as to do something fun and exercise related. And you don't really get that in a sort of class environment, because everyone's so focused on studying. Even the people who don't seem to be as focused, there's still that kind of atmosphere. So join societies, because at least you can have the opportunity to meet people who like doing the same things as you do. Especially as I found on my course, because it's such a big course, there's so many different people, which is great. There's a whole variety of people, but you won't meet every single person on your course, and it's not like a class in school or at college where you actually get to know the people you're learning with. I found some really great friends through the Pole Society, and I'm actually going out tonight for a winter meal with them, which would be lovely. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and let me know what you think. Leave me a comment. I would really love to know if there's anything you'd like to add, and maybe we could do an updated one at some point during the future, or anything you'd like to share. And go give me a follow on Instagram, Rosa J Hopper. There's more daily content over there as well. Keep up the kindness, my friends.